Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I'm your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And once again, thank each and every one of you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. You know how much I truly appreciate it. So look, what are we going to talk about today? So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about why your credit card balances matter. What difference does it make if you have $9,000 worth of balances on your credit cards, or you have $2 worth of balances on your credit card? What difference does it make to your overall score at all? And why is that even an issue for the credit bureaus? And how does that impact your credit score? So we're going to talk about that. We got a good loaded question of the day today, so we're going to talk about those things. But before we do anything else today, before we do anything at all, I gotta give this huge shout out to one of my three sons. You guys that are old enough, you remember the show My Three Sons. I got to give a huge shout out to Cameron. Yes, Cameron King celebrates his birthday tomorrow. So it's Saturday. So that means, you know what it means. He's got soccer games, 2 of them, won the first one already. And we're going to get it in with a birthday party. So he is really into watching the American Ninja Warriors. So he's having an American Ninja Warriors birthday party this afternoon. And we are definitely going to get in for Cameron's birthday. So, son, I am so proud of you. I talk about you on the show all the time, and 2 people telling about your athletic prowess and all those things. But beyond that, yes, he is a great student. So if you can be that young and be a quote unquote student athlete, he's absolutely that. And he is a very kind, generous, and a kid that creates friends wherever he goes. So I want to just let you know, man, I am so proud of you. Thank you very much for being my son and being the kid that you are. So that's my shout out to Cameron King. Yes, my middle child. All right, and I also gotta give a shout out to Shauna Morales. She celebrated a birthday earlier this week, so happy birthday to you, Shauna. I gotta give a shout out to Anika King. No relation. Isn't that a miracle? No relation. Anika King, she celebrated a birthday. Just like when I did with Damon King, I might as well adopt her into my King family as well. So happy birthday to you, cuz then Anika King as well. All right, so let's get into the show. So why your credit card balances matter. So this week, and the reason this came up, because this week and last week as well, a good handful of potential clients and current ones also asked about how and why their debt impacts their credit score. So I had to break that down to them, and you know how I do. So oftentimes I have a topic in mind that I want to speak on and bring to you guys, but when things keep coming at me and it's the same subject, it's the same issue, I like to bring it to you, because I think if these, handful of people, these 12 people, these 20 people have that question, then some of you out there that are listening may have the same question as well. So that's why we're talking about that today on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. Now, look, I want to encourage you guys to all follow me. Follow me on Instagram at 800 Credit Score Man on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page, of course, the 800 Credit Score Man on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter. I will follow you back on Twitter, and that's at Credit Score _man. Yes, that's at Credit Score _man. Now, stop emailing me talking about I didn't follow you back, because I will follow you back on Twitter. That's the only promise I make. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to follow you back on Facebook. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to follow you back on Instagram or even Tumblr. However, I will follow you back on Twitter. So catch me there at Credit Score _man on Twitter. All right. So look, so let's talk about this. So specifically your credit card debt. Now, oftentimes or sometimes you'll see an article, if you read about credit, that talk about your thresholds on other kinds of debt, how much you still owe on your car or your home or what have you, your student loan, things of that nature. But that's not really what the majority of what's going on when it talks about your debt utilization, your credit utilization on your credit report. So it's important to the credit bureaus for whatever reason. So they calculate your scores based on risk. So it comes down to risk and credit worthiness at each and every turn. So for whatever reason, here's some of the things that they are concerned about or concern themselves with. One, maxed out credit cards. So if you've got maxed out credit cards, it could mean that you're having financial trouble. Maybe you aren't. Maybe it's just that, somebody, some credit card company gave you $1,000 worth of credit, so you spend $900 of it. But to them, a maxed out credit card, and that's considered maxed out if you're at 90% of the limit on your credit card. If you're at $900 and that limit is $1,000, they have no idea what you're buying. They don't have any idea what you're buying with that card. They don't know with that traditional card. They don't know if it's groceries or it could be clothes or vacation. You name it. It could be anything, but they have no idea what you're buying with that card. If you have a regular card, I'm talking about your general card, your bank card. It comes from, one of the banks or credit union or something of that nature, not necessarily a store card. If you have a store card and that card is, at Pier 1, for example, then they know you're buying trinkets and stuff. But if you have a general credit card that you can use anywhere to shop online and buy all kinds of things, they have no idea what you're buying. They don't know if you're using that money to substitute your lifestyle. If you're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul or whatever, they have no idea what that is. So to them, they are risk averse in the first place, so they're looking at the risk in there of what's going on with you. So in their eyes, you appear to be risky. So I'm sure some of that is from research and data that they've researched all over the years and years of experience. So that's why they are fearful, if you will, of people with maxed out credit cards. Thus, your credit score reflects that. It reflects their fear that you are having an issue or could potentially have an issue. Another thing that they are looking at is the majority of people, unfortunately, I guess, with maxed out credit cards have a tough time getting out of debt. So once that card reaches that max, when you look at all of the interest and how it's compounded and the low payment that you have to pay, the low monthly payment, a lot of people don't want to pay more than that. They usually do so just to try to get out of debt. But if you're not seeking to get out of debt, then you just keep paying the minimum, or that's all that you can pay. So people with the maxed out credit cards have a tough time often of getting out of debt. Excuse me, which again is risky, is very, very risky in their eyes if you have a trouble getting out of debt. The third thing that they're looking at, or potentially in their minds for you, is that high debt can often lead to bankruptcy. So if you're going to file bankruptcy on your, on your debt, then you're not going to pay back the full amount. Or even if you do a partial, if you do a full bankruptcy where you don't pay anything, excuse me, like a Chapter 7, or if you do a 13 where you pay a portion of it back, or you keep some things but you get rid of some of the other things, then that is risky. That means that you're not going to pay that money back to whoever you owe that money to, and that speaks again to your credit worthiness. That's why when you file bankruptcy, then your score is going to fall, and it's going to fall hard. One of the things that's going to happen when you file bankruptcy, before you get the paperwork done and all of those things, you're going to start missing payments, because you're going to have missed payments on your credit report. You're going to start doing those things, and so that's going to all impact your credit score in a negative way. So if you have high debt, people with the high debt, credit cards, the credit bureaus, which are TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they're looking at that and they're saying this is a risk. And so that's why, that's just some of the reasons why your credit score reflects that when you have high debt when it comes to your credit card. So there are just a few reasons. These are just a few reasons that your credit card balances matter. The credit bureaus have placed within their formula a significant weighting on these balances. So it's very significant. Now, you know that there are 5 factors that go into determining your credit score. You know this because you listen to the 800 Credit Score Man show, not because you read it somewhere else, but because you're listening to this show. Please share the show with your friends, like, comment, do all those things. Catch it wherever you catch it, whether it's iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Go to Spreaker. They host the show. Spreaker, Spreaker. Eaker, Spreaker.com. You can find the show there as well. So there are 5 factors that go into your credit score. So it's not just paying on time, right? Everybody thinks if you just pay on time, then I should have a great credit score because I pay my bills on time. That's not the only factor that goes into your credit score. So the 5 factors would be payment history. So that's how well you pay. If you're on time, you're not on time. How many times you've been 30 days late, 60 days late, those kinds of things. Inquiries. How many inquiries do you have? Too many inquiries is also another quote unquote risk factor. If you're looking for money all over the place, then they're looking at this as like this person is searching for credit for some reason. Whatever that reason is, it may not be good if they're constantly looking for credit. Oftentimes, the people that you see, if I look at somebody's credit report and I see 20 inquiries, it's because you've been turned down so many times other places. Of course, if you have gotten credit at the first or second place you went to, then you wouldn't keep applying for credit everywhere. So the number of inquiries is one of those factors as well. Your mix or your new credit, they're calling it sometimes now. So your mix is what kinds of credit that you have. Of course, revolving versus installment as well, and any new credit that you may have at the same time. Another factor would be that length of history. So how long have you had credit? And that's just judging you on your history. So if you have a short history, then I can't really say that, yes, I'm 100% sure that this particular person will pay back this money. But if you have a longer history, I have more to evaluate. So the credit bureau says we have more to evaluate with this person with a 7-year credit history, because over these past 7 years or 10 years they've had credit, then yes, we see that they always pay this particular bill on time. They always pay that bill on time. Oh, they've only been late one time. We can evaluate and put into the formula how risky this person is about their credit. So length of history is one of those factors. And then, yes, your debt utilization. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about your debt utilization. That is one of the factors as well. So when I said that they put a heavy weighting on it, how much available credit, this is your debt utilization as a definition, really. That's how much of your available credit you have as granted by the lenders. So how much available credit do you have? So if you have, say, $1,000 credit limit with a credit card, how much do you have available? How much do you have left? If you've spent $600, and so that's what your balance is, then you have $400 left. That is 60% of that then you have used. So you'll have used 60% of that debt, and that's basically what we're looking at when it comes to your debt utilization. The bureaus have determined that spending more than 30%, which is arbitrary to me, but spending more than 30% is the threshold they prefer. So they don't want you spending more than 30%. So an example we just talked about, $1,000, you spent $600 of that. That gives you a 60% debt utilization. You're well over the 30% that they prefer. They prefer 30%. So, and ironically, in this calculation of those 5 factors we just talked about, they put 30% weighting on that. So I said they put a heavy weighting on it. They put 30% weighting on that within your score as well. So it's the second highest factor. Paying on time is the first highest factor at 35% when they go to calculate your score, and 30% is this factor, and it's the second highest factor in there. Everything else falls below that. Your length of history, your inquiries, your mix, all of those things fall below that. So it is very important for you to pay attention to your debt, especially when it comes to your credit cards. And it's also, because of this high weighting, it's one of the most effective ways that you can raise your credit score. If you've got some high debt, then you start to get rid of this credit card debt. You target it, you go after it with every bonus you have. You start driving Uber or Lyft or whatever it is to get some additional money, and you apply it to your credit cards. You're definitely going to see your credit score go up if you can go ahead and tackle some of those things. So you need to change your mindset around this particular category. You need to change your mindset. So one, when you in that furniture store. So when you go into that furniture store and you find what you want, then you put in your application because you want the deal, right? You want the 12 months